Hi there. Welcome once again to Talkin Buckeyes. Ladies and gentlemen, this show is the 2017 College Football Kickoff Breakdown. And I'm your host, Dwayne Riscoll. Thanks for tuning in. But before we get going, how many of you want the best college football coverage bar none? Along with the Cavs, the Browns, the Indians, NASCAR, anything to do with sports, you need to tune in to my man, Kenny Rhoda, WHBC 1480 AM Akron Canton Hall of Fame, and with his partner JT. Here's what you do. Go to 1480 AM on your dial. And if you can't get it, go on the internet. Type in WHBC.com. Scroll down to the official site, click on it, and then go click on up to streaming live. And there, you'll listen to Kenny Rhoda and JT. Two of the best in the business. And folks, I'm telling you, Northeast Ohio, college football talk is dead. It's gone. Aaron Goldhammer destroyed our talk up Northeast Ohio. But Kenny Rhoda is the best in the business. You want the best Ohio State football talk, the best Ohio State coverage, the best college talk with him and JT, as well as college football 2017, along with all his outstanding guests and inside information. Kenny Rhoda, WHBC.com. And every now and then, you just might hear me, Dwayne Riscoll, Mr. Pingling, go Buckeyes. Folks, with the great college football season coming up, I keep telling you, the Buckeye Sports Bulletin. You need to get the Buckeye Sports Bulletin. You'll get the best college football coverage on Ohio State that you can get versus the Plain Dealer, the Akron Beacon Journal, the Columbus Dispatch, the Post, the Gazette. Right here. This is the newspaper you should have, Buckeye Sports Bulletin. You'll get all the recruits. You'll get pregame, postgame, and they'll let you know what's going on in Ohio State basketball, swimming, track, field, what. Anything to do with Ohio State. If you don't get this, why not? Get on board, Buckeye Sports Bulletin. I've been on this since the early 90s, and so should you. Ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, college football 2017 is going to be an exciting year. Who's going to be the four teams that's going to go to the playoffs? Tonight, I want to cover a bunch of things to get you excited and to help you out a little bit. Now, in the landscape of football, we all know that great teams need a great quarterback in order to compete for a championship. And great teams need a great defense. If you have a good defense, you got a chance to win all your games. You're in every game. If you have a great defense, chances are you're going to compete for that conference championship. And if you have an outstanding defense, chances are you're going to compete for that national championship. And we know that you have to have an offense and a defense and special teams. We know important how field goal kicking is as well as punting. You know, Jim Tressel used to say for years, the punt is the most important play in college football. And you'd say, why is that? Sounds ludicrous. But when you think about it, he does have an opinion to argue with. Because a punt can turn the field over. And if you have great coverage, you pin your opponent down deep. But that's something that Jim Tressel has said, and there's a lot of validity to it. But for 2017, on my last show, we talked about the Buckeyes and where I figure they're going to fit into. But what about the rest of the teams? Let's go through a list of the teams right off the bat. From the ACC, you've got Florida State, Clemson, and you've got Louisville, and Miami of Florida, the Hurricanes. Those are probably your top four teams, is it not? In the Big Ten, you have Ohio State, you've got Wisconsin, Penn State, Michigan, maybe Northwestern, okay? The SEC, Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, LSU, Florida. The Pac-12, USC, Southern Cal, Washington, Stanford, maybe Utah or Oregon. Pac-12, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, TCU, Texas, Kansas State. And, you know, your independence is Notre Dame, BYU, Army, Navy. And if something comes out of there, I think we'll all be shocked. But in this college football 2017 breakdown, which teams are going to come out of this? There's only going to be four teams making it the playoffs out of the Power 5 conferences. And yes, Ohio State is right there in the mix. Before the show wraps up, I'm going to tell you what I think about Ohio State and its chances. But If you're an Ohio State fan, man, this is going to be a great year. This is going to be a fun, exciting year. If you're a college football fan, this is going to be a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous year. You know, look what we got kicking off on Labor Day weekend. You've got Michigan and Florida. You've got Alabama, number 1, number 3, Florida State, that some claim that that's the way it's going to be as a kickoff. Oh, my goodness. And there's a few other games, but those are the 2 big important ones right off the bat. What a great year this is going to be. Now, let's talk about some of the great quarterbacks that's going to make a difference in this year's 2017. You need a great quarterback. So what do we hear? From Southern Cal, Sam Darnold. Everybody's in love with Sam Darnold. Grab any publication, Phil Steele and whatnot, Athlons, Lindy, Street, and Smith. Go to any of the websites that's talking Sam Darnold as a sophomore. They've got him right up there. I like Mason Rudolph. He's for Oklahoma State. You know, the Cowboys are coming in under the radar. Oklahoma's got Baker Mayfield. Ohio State's got J.T. Barrett. Michigan's got William Sprite. We have got some phenomenal quarterbacks. You got Mr. Hurts down in Alabama. You've got that Francisco that's down in Florida State. Folks, there are some outstanding quarterbacks. Now, when it comes to college football, if we mention some names, that does not automatically, am I projecting them to be NFL caliber? Can we draw the line in the sand? And we're talking college football shot at the national championship. I'm not talking no NFL prospect here in these quarterbacks. That'll play out as the season goes by. Then you got Mr. McSorley out of Penn State. This kid showed you what he did against Ohio State, bringing them back, how they had a gunfight over in the Rose Bowl with USC. Then Jesse Hurts, he's out of Kansas State. The Hurts, no one's talking about him, but he could be under the radar. And then you got Mr. Falk out of Washington State. You know, with that high power, throw the ball 50, 60 times, that kid can really light the board up. And then what about Mr. Browning himself out of Washington? Is Washington going to make another run? These are some of your top quarterbacks. And what about Lamar Jackson? Lamar Jackson, your quarterback, who was the Heisman Trophy winner last year out of Louisville. You cannot count them out just for the simple fact, for the first 6 games, this young man was dynamic. He escaped, extended the change, threw bombs, crossing patterns. This kid looked like he was going to take Louisville to the national championship. A lot of people thought it. That's what makes college football so exciting. There are so many dynamic quarterbacks that fits into the offensive coordinator's philosophy. Which one do you subscribe to? The pocket drop back pass, the spread, the multiple offenses. There's so much involved in your offense, but at the same time, you got to line up against great defenses or mediocre defenses. And it's a chess match between the offensive coordinators and the defensive coordinators, and the game plan that usually comes ahead on Thursday nights where the coaches, they all get together in their rooms and they sign off what they're going to do and how they're going to attack the opponents. Then mix in some weather, some rain, some snow, some wind, some heat, some humidity. You know my recipe for being upset. Take your team on the road at night. Throw in some rain. Mix in some wind. And the recipe for an upset is already set. Hostile crowd, on the road, battling with the elements. A little wind and a little rain, and a ball in the air for a punt or kickoff. You lose control. You fumble because the ball is wet. Recipe for upset. With that being said, let's turn around and let's talk about some of this great running backs now to complement the offense. You know, you've got Juice. He's out of LSU. Everyone's high on him. Auburn's got Bo Scarborough. They're high on him. Auburn's got Mr. Petway. They believe this kid's going to really light it up. Nick Chubb from Georgia, without this kid getting hurt, he's like a tank on speed running the football. Ohio State's Mr. Weber. And then there's Mr. Barkley from Penn State. You know, these are the guys that carry the mail. And I think the sleeper this year is a senior by the name of Royce Freeman out of Oregon. He's almost like the running back. But I look for Oregon to really emerge a little bit more and be better than what they have in the past couple of years. Then there's Myles Gaskin out of Washington. You know, he had to compliment Mr. Browning throwing the football. And then naturally, L.J. Scott of Michigan State, Mr. Whitley out of Iowa. And did I miss? Oh, Justin Crawford out of West Virginia. Keep your eye on West Virginia. They're under the radar. They're in the back. But they've got William Greer, who transferred out of Florida, who's got another year down in West Virginia. This kid, mountain of a man, throw the football all over, and Mr. Crawford can take it to the house anytime he touches the field. If West Virginia gets a defense, who knows? This is what makes college football so exciting. Is there anybody that I perhaps might have missed? I don't think so. What about the best defenses in the country to go along with these offenses? You got to have a great defense, and I put Ohio State's defense number one. Grab any publication, go online, listen to the TV shows. Ohio State's defensive line, they now have 8 men rotation on that line that when they take 4 out, they put 4 in. A gentleman who is highly recruited by the name of Chase Young is now got his stripe off at Ohio State, and he's going to fit right in with Mr. Hubbard, Mr. Holmes, Mr. Lewis, Tremonti Jones. Get ready. Haskell Garrett got his stripe taken off the helmet. The Ohio State defense is going to be phenomenal. But what about some of the other defenses? Alabama. Listen, you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. So far for the past, 6, 7 years, all national championships, as much as we hate to admit it, us Yankees up here, it goes through Alabama. Nick Saban gets the cream of the crop, and everybody else fights for whatever you can get. And every now and then, Urban Meyer has stolen a few players that were supposed to go to Alabama. Great recruiting war goes on. Alabama's going to have another defense. Clemson's going to have an outstanding defense. With Dexter and Lawrence in there, let me tell you something. Defensive tackles, my personal opinion, you give me 2 defensive tackles in the middle, 2 fast defensive ends, and you can cause a lot of problems. You can disrupt the running game, bring it to a halt if you have great tackles. Your defensive ends also can over-pursue. You can blitz off the corners. Defenses. I love great defenses. Florida State's going to have another top defense because they recruit very well down in the state of Florida. Keep your eyes on Wisconsin. Wisconsin's going to have another great defense here in the Big Ten, along with Michigan and Florida. Florida for many years could hardly score. They've had trouble running the football. They've had trouble throwing the football. When Urban Meyer had Tim Tebow, they could do a little bit of everything. Since then, the offense has been missing, and sometimes you scratch your head and wonder why. With all that talent down in Florida, Georgia, Alabama, why can't they get an offense that can put 20, 30 points on the board with their defenses that could compete? That's just the way it's been down there. We know LSU time and time again. Go back and look at the scores in some of the games that LSU had with Alabama. 10-point differences, 10-0, 13-10, 9-7. LSU is going to have another great defense. They always have phenomenal safeties and cornerbacks, and their defensive ends, they bring it. If LSU can get an offense, if they can string if Juice and their quarterback, whoever they're going to find, if LSU can get a quarterback to go with their running game, hey, they're going to be right in the mix. And let's also remember 2 other teams, Auburn and Florida. Auburn had some injuries late in the year. A lot of people picked Auburn last year to win the SEC over Bama. But hey, that's going to be one heck of a game at the end of the year when Nick Saban's Elephants go down into Auburn to take on them Tigers. That could, not saying it is, but it could decide the SEC. Those are some of my top 10 defenses. Now, we all know with the 119 teams in America, somebody else is going to pop up with a good defenses. But these are the ones that we know that looking at it, breaking down, they're too deep. It's going to be hard to beat these defenses. Somebody else might emerge. Is it going to be North Carolina State this year? Is Oklahoma State going to find a defense after all these years? Kansas State's going to have something in this line. This could all change. But it's fun to talk college football. It's fun to open up your mind and get you feeling. What do you think? What do you see out there? Who are you trusting for your information? What about some of the best offenses in America? What are some of the top offenses out there that you think is really going to light up the college football world for 2017? Baker Mayfield, the quarterback, should be right in the mix of things at Oklahoma. Oklahoma, they do not have Stoops no more as their head coach. Mr. Lyle took over. But with Baker Mayfield, the kid can scramble. He can flick his wrist and throw the ball 30, 40, 50 yards downfield. Oklahoma has been known for lighting it up. They've struggled on some defense. They give up a lot of points when they shouldn't have. But will that change? Oklahoma will have one of the better offenses. Now, Mr. Gundy, down over there in Oklahoma State, let me tell you something. With Mr. Rudolph, quarterback, 6'5", 230, and he's got a wide receiver, Mr. Washington. If Oklahoma State gets a defense, they very well could be one of the 4 teams. That's asking a lot, but if they do, they got an offense that's going to be second to none. Keep your eye on Oklahoma State. You know Alabama's going to put the points up because they continue to get the talent. We know that Bama with Scarborough and Mr. Hurts as quarterback, time and time again. I just got off the phone here a little while ago before I did the show, and I was talking with Cliff Parks Jr. down in Dayton. Year after year after year, how many SEC teams? You take Ole Miss, you take LSU, you take Mississippi State, Georgia, Florida. How many times are those teams in a dogfight with about 6 minutes to go against Alabama, and year after year after year, you see Alabama throw a bomb, and again, a safety allows the wide receiver to get behind, get the big play, scored a touchdown with just a couple of minutes ago, and Bama keeps winning. It's amazing, but it happens. Again, Alabama, until you can shut them down, slow them down, or beat them, they're going to have one of the top offenses. We know Ohio State with J.T. Barrett, Mr. Weber, Terry McLaurin, Austin Mack, Johnny Dixon, A.J. Alexander, Mr. Bond. I'm telling you, this is going to be a high-powered offense, bringing in Kevin Wilson, running the spread, clean an area out, put a tailback in. J.K. Dobbins is a true freshman that's out of Texas. I look for J.K. Dobbins and Mr. Weber to be a 1-2 counterpunch with Mr. Campbell and Mr. McCall as your H-back slot backs. And then watch the youngsters emerge. It is time. Ohio State, folks, remember, 6 years in a row, Mr. Myers has had a top 5 recruiting class. He's got the talent there. Sometimes it's trial by fire. Other times it's wait your turn. But Ohio State will have an explosive offense that's going to put up a lot of points because of Kevin Wilson and them. And I know some of you are down on J.T. Barrett. I'm not. I'm not down on J.T. Rest assured, if something happens, you got Joe Burrows, Dwayne Haskins, and Tate Martell. All 3 of them are capable of moving the ball and moving the chains and having a party in the end zone. Another high-powered offense. How could it not be Louisville? With Lamar Jackson, this quarterback is dynamic. Anytime that your quarterback can escape from the pocket, extend the plays, move the chains, and become a water bug in the backfield and throw the ball 40, 50 yards down the field and have 4-3, 4-4 receivers running all over the spread, he's dangerous. Louisville is going to be one of your top offenses. Do they have enough to beat Clemson? Do they have enough to beat Florida State? Will they beat North Carolina State, Georgia Tech? We're going to find out. But they have the offensive weapons to get the job done. Penn State. We all know that Penn State's coming on. Another year with Barkley, McSorensen. Hey, folks, make no doubt about it. Penn State has recruited well these past 3 years. Penn State's got a nice offensive line. Anytime you got a running back and a quarterback combination of what they've got, they're dangerous. I expect them to average 35 points a game this year. Now, naturally, you're going to get on the road and you're going to take on the Ohio States, you're going to take on the Michigans, you're going to take on the Michigan States, okay? You're going to slow that game down a little bit. You're not going to be hanging 50, 60 points on those teams because of their defenses and the player personnel that they've developed through their recruiting classes. But nonetheless, Penn State will be one of your top offenses. And Kansas State. Go back and look at Kansas State's records for the past 3 years and how many points that Mr. Snyder's team has put up. Mr. Ertz, one of the top quarterbacks that is under the radar. They've got a 1-2 punch in their backfield. Kansas State can move the chains. They're physical, they're tough, they're hard-nosed, and they're in their ball games. I look for Kansas State to average 30 points a game. Then, Texas. Look, Texas has recruited well for the past 3 or 4 years. They just haven't had the right buttons pushed, the right leadership, but that's all changed. There's a new sheriff in town. There's a lot of talent in Texas. Texas should put a lot of points on the board, but what kind of defense are they going to have? What kind of defense are they going to develop? Because if Texas gets a defense, they're going to be tough. But I expect them to average 30-something points a game down in Texas. Texas Tech, you know, the Red Raiders, these guys have lit it up with Mr. Kingsbury, who's been their head coach. He does nothing but throw the ball, throw the ball, throw the ball, and throw the ball. I think when they walk off the field, they still throw the football. They've averaged 45, 50 points a game. They don't know what defense is. But we're talking about top defenses. Texas Tech will light it up. All their quarterbacks that they've had in history, oh my goodness, do they put 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 yards up in total years that they're there, the quarterbacks. They never make it in the NFL. But we're talking college football 2017. In West Virginia. West Virginia is a sleeper team for offense. Now, I know there's going to be some other teams that you're probably saying, Dwayne, you didn't mention some of these other teams that has great offenses. Why? You didn't say nothing about Oregon. You didn't say nothing about Washington State. I'm giving you what I think are the top 10. Now, after that, sure, every year, you take your top 40 teams in all the publications, and every year, usually the top 15, they get shaken up. And the next top, or the next 15 below that, it's a juggling board. Who's going to jump up and down to those 4 teams? As the season goes by, the rankings are going to change. These teams are going to intertwine. We're going to see major upsets. There's going to be injuries. College football 2017 is going to be exciting. Now, I've got some top football players for 2017. This is a list that I come up with that I really believe are going to be impact players, and they're going to make a lot of mention. Some of you might understand it, some of you might not. Lamar Jackson, quarterback for Louisville. He won the Heisman Trophy last year. You mean to tell me this kid is not going to be able to perform like he did last year? I've got him up there as one of the most dynamic players on the field. Derek Nottie, 6'1", 312, defensive tackle out of Florida State. Keep your eye on this kid. This kid could be probably the best defensive tackle in all of football. This is a kid that I really fell in love with. Also, defensive tackle, Christian Wilkins, 6'4", 310 out of Clemson. A load. Oh, my God. This kid can knock a school bus over when he hits you. He clogs the middle. He raises havoc. He causes guards and centers to collapse. Then you've got defensive end, Tyquan Lewis of Ohio State, 6'4", 265. Tyquan Lewis is going to have a year like none other at Ohio State in a long time. We all remember Joey Bosa. Well, Tyquan Lewis is ready to explode and let it rip. I also like Billy Price, 6'4", 312 out of Ohio State, as the best center in America. Now, there are some people out there who really doubt the ability of Billy Price. So let me tell you this. Watch Billy Price this year. Look at his physical fatigue and look at his presence and demeanor as leadership on that field. Keep your eye on Billy Price. Also, James Washington, wide receiver, 6', 205 out of Oklahoma State. Many believe he's the best in college football. I believe this kid can stretch the field. He can go up and high point a ball. He can explode and soar through the air. This is another reason why Oklahoma State is going to be very dangerous. I also like everybody else, quarterback Sam Darnold, 6'4", 225 out of USC. As a sophomore, you've seen what the kid can do. He has the pocket presence. He looks like a thoroughbred under control, and he can distribute the football. Now, are they going to catch teams by surprise? Who knows? As a sophomore, is he going to be the best quarterback to come out this year? Who knows? But you got to keep your eye on him. Also, offensive tackle Orlando Brown, 6'8", 360 out of Oklahoma. And folks, he's coming into Columbus. That's a mountain of a man. 6'8", 360, I call that an earth mover. Pay close attention to what he does. Also who I like, excuse me, safety, Ronnie Harrison, 6'3", 215 out of Alabama. Alabama gets some of the best defensive backs and safeties in college football, as well as LSU. I've always said if I had my choice to draft for the Browns, it'd be like this. Here's what I want my draft board to do. Keep your eyes on everything in Alabama and LSU in the secondary, along with Florida. There's where I want my corners and safeties. When it comes to linebackers, keep your eye on Ohio State, Wisconsin, and USC. When it comes to defensive linemen, Clemson, Alabama. Keep your eye on those guys because they're winners. A linebacker right here in Indiana. Tegray Scales, 6 foot, 230. Watch this kid. I know a lot of you saying, Indiana linebacker, watch the film on the kid. He's got a nose for the ball. He's all over the place. He is one of the best linebackers in America. He can play for me any day. Quarterback, Mason Rudolph, 6'5", 230, Oklahoma State. Got a rocket of an arm. He's got a cannon, big present, big mobile, what you want in a quarterback. In a pocket present quarterback, this kid can distribute the football. I love him. Keep your eyes on him. Running back, I told you before, under the radar, Royce Freeman out of Oregon. This kid is under the radar. Royce could have a breakout year. Also, excuse me, defensive back, Duke Dawson, 5'10", 210 out of Florida. Great hips, good feet, can pursue, can go up and spot the ball and steal it. These are some of the kids that I like. Your Heisman Trophy watch, according to ESPN, Fox, and all the newspapers, and all the guys across America. You know, 1 point. Whoever ESPN jumps on early, that's who they want to win the Heisman. It's been that way for years. But your Heisman watches, quarterback, Baker Mayfield, Oklahoma, Lamar Jackson, Louisville, Sam Darnold, USC, J.T. Barrett, Ohio State, Jake Browning, Washington, Jarrett Stidham, Auburn, Luke Falk, Washington State, Josh Rosen, UCLA, Trace McSorley, Penn State, Denard Francis, Florida State, running back Nick Chubb out of Georgia, running back Bo Scarborough out of Alabama, running back Darius Juice out of LSU, running back Sean Barkley out of Penn State. Those are some of the guys that all across America, they've already been promoted of this is who we're going to choose from. I wish we wouldn't have no Heisman Trophy candidate until we get to the bowl season and give everybody a fair chance. But hey, what do I know? Folks, here's your top teams. The national championship, 4 teams are going to come out of the 5 power conferences. So let's talk about some of the 5 power conferences of some of the teams that really should have a shot at making the 4 teams. Let's go in the ACC. You've got Florida State, Clemson, Miami of Florida, and North Carolina. Can somebody else come out of there? Those are your top 4 right now. Recruiting classes. Before I go there, let's backtrack real quick. Recruiting classes for the last year. ACC, Florida State 1, Clemson 2, Miami 3, North Carolina 4. The SEC, Alabama 1, Georgia 2, LSU 3, Florida 4. The Pac-12, USC 1, Stanford 2, UCLA 3, Washington 4. The Big 12, Oklahoma 1, Texas 2, TCU 3, Texas Tech 4. In the Big 10, Ohio State 1, Michigan 2, Penn State 3, Maryland number 4. That was for last year's recruiting class. Now, let's get into the final 4 teams that's going to be racing. In the SEC, here's your top 5 for the race. You've got Alabama, LSU, Georgia, Auburn, Florida. The ACC, Florida State, Clemson, Louisville, Miami, Florida, Virginia Tech. Big 10, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Penn State, Michigan, Iowa. The Big 12, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Texas, TCU. Pac-12, USC, Washington, Stanford, Oregon, and Utah. Out of there, the Power 5 conferences, 4 teams are going to make it. My top 10 teams for 2017 is like this. We all have an opinion. You take Phil Steele, Lindy, Street and Smith, Athlon, ESPN 1, Fox Sports 1, Colin Cowherd, Kenny Rhoda, whatnot, pick a name. We all have our top 10. Here's my top 12. I'm going to give you Dwayne's Baker dozen. Ohio State first, Florida State second, Alabama 3, 4 is USC, 5 is Oklahoma, 6 is Penn State, 7 is Washington, 8 is Clemson, 9 is Auburn, 10 is Wisconsin, 11 is Oklahoma State, 12 is Louisville, and the extra one could be LSU. Out of these teams, Dwayne, Risco, Brunswick, Ohio, with Tom Kepler spinning the cameras back there. What's my 4 final teams for the college football playoff for 2017? Folks, I go like this. Ohio State's going to be finishing 1, Southern Cal 2. Shocker, Auburn number 3, Florida State number 4. I got Ohio State playing Auburn, Ohio State beating Auburn, Southern Cal playing Florida State, Southern Cal beating Florida State, and Ohio State and Southern Cal for the whole ball of wax, with naturally Ohio State winning the 2017 National Championship. Now, before some of you say that I'm just a homer, I'm waving my pom-poms and it's Ohio State this and Ohio State that, you win with talent. You win with coaching staff. Ohio State, this is their year because of their defense. Leadership, J.T. Barrett. Billy Price, center, offensive line. Another year under Mickey Marotti. Another bringing in Pat Day, quarterback coach, to help settle down J.T. Barrett with just a little bit mental makeup upstairs. Great backup quarterbacks with Burrows and Haskins and Martell. Wide receivers, Terry McLaurin, A.J. Alexander, Benjamin Victor, Johnny Dixon, Austin Mack. This field is ready to go. It's going to be a fun 2017. Can somebody else upset the apple cart? Can Penn State ruin everything? Can Miami of Florida mess things up? Can North Carolina State play a spoiler? What about Notre Dame, BYU, Utah? What about Washington State? You know, all these different teams out there. Can Florida rise? Can Georgia finally get it done? Is Auburn going to knock off Alabama finally? Hey, thanks for tuning in. Last but not least, God bless, go Buckeyes. This is our year, 2017. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, I'll see you. God bless. Go Bucks.
Took me to the point where I was blind. My body was weak, but not as much as my mind. Oh, my mind. Oh. Hey, I, oh.
Welcome to your life. There's no turning back. Even while we sleep, we will find you acting on your best behavior. Turn your back on Mother Nature. Everybody wants to rule the world. It's my own desire. It's my own remorse. Help me to decide. Help me make the most of freedom and of pleasure. Nothing ever lasts forever. Everybody wants to rule the world. There's a room where the light won't find you. Holding hands while the walls come tumbling down. When they do, I'll be right behind you. So glad we've almost made it. So sad we had to fade it. Everybody wants to rule. Everybody wants to rule. The world.
Why are you here?
The defender rolls right side to the 10, to the 5, right corner of the end zone. Touchdown. Garrett in the shotgun, gets the snap, screens it right side, Curtis Samuel. He gets to the Wisconsin 20-yard line.
And it is intercepted. Weaving his way, Malik Hooker following his blocks like a running back.
Down at the 28-yard line. Weber with the carry. Breaks a tackle. Breaks through another man. And Weber showing nimbleness and power. Gets the first down to the 46. Bush. And
I'm here because this is Ohio State.
pleased to be joined by the defensive coordinator here at Ohio State, Greg Schiano. Coach, we sat here last year and we talked about the secondary needing to be rebuilt and how that was a little bit of a question mark. You ended up with 3 first-round picks. So I'm not going to sit here and push the panic button, but I do want to start there because it is obviously an area where you had significant turnover. How have you seen that group come together?
Well, we're coming together. I think it's a work in progress. You know, the thing that we believe is Denzel was really a starter last year. We had 3 starting quarters, Denzel Ward, so that helps. We have Damon Webb who started, so you know, now we have to make sure the other corner spot is manned, and we would love to play that 3-man rotation that we did last year. I think it not only helps them within an individual game, but it helps over the course of a season. You know, we play so much press man-to-man that our corners are running a ton. So hopefully that'll come to fruition with Damon Arnett and some other guys. And then at the other safety spot, there's a good competition going on, you know, between Jordan Fuller and Eric Smith.
Even though you lose some things on the back end, you'll be able to replace them. But ultimately, it starts up front, and you want to be able to get pressure on the quarterback. How do you do that this year?
Well, you know, I learned a long time ago, if you get there with 3, get there with 3. If you need 4, use 4. If it takes 5, use 5. You know, we have some really fine defensive linemen, and our thing is we want to keep them fresh. We want all those plays to be, you know, we tell them if you put 40 plays on tape, make them 40 plays that are, you know, 100% effort every time. And we're going to keep them fresh, roll them. Coach Johnson does a great job of that, of rolling them in there, making sure we have great combinations by package.
Coach, who are some of the young guys we might see we haven't seen before?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if they're going to get to be seen, you know, because on the defensive front there's some guys, but like Chase Young guy out of Maryland, he is something else. So hopefully we find a way to mix him in there, but it's pretty deep there. You know, Pete Werner, Indiana kid who came over here, he's a really fine young player. Isaiah is in the secondary, really doing a good job. Isaiah Pryor. So I mean, these are young kids that really good players, and let's see, maybe we don't see them playing a lot of first, second down, third down stuff, see them on special teams, and then work their way into it as the season goes on.
With so much talent, is it a challenge to manage the egos as well as a coordinator?
You know what, this is the most unselfish, humble group that I've ever been around, especially, and the most talented group I've ever been around, but they are all about each other, and that's what makes it fun to come to work every day. I mean, these guys, certainly, if you don't have you got an ego if you play this game or coach this game, right? But they've been able to harness that, and again, that's a tribute to Larry Johnson, to Kerry Combs, to Billy Davis, because those guys do a tremendous job of making it about the room, not about the guy.
You were speaking a bit about the defensive line. Is this the most talented D-line you've ever been around? And you can include the NFL.
It is, you know, and that's not a joke.
Yeah.
It is. Now, we had a great player in Tampa by the name of Gerald McCoy, a tremendous player, but that was one guy. You know, I go back to my days at Miami in '99 and 2000. This is clearly a better group than those guys, so that's saying something.
You know, it's, yeah, I mean,
That was
it tells you something.
Talented team now.
Well, Greg Schiano, thanks a lot for your time, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Well, very pleased to be joined by an old friend of ours in a new place, Kevin Wilson, the offensive coordinator here at Ohio State. It's odd for us to see you here. I assume it's got to be a little bit odd for you to be here. What's been the biggest adjustment in terms of kind of going back to that coordinator role?
Well, again, you know, offensively, that was kind of my background, so stayed a part of it. Now we're, you know, Coach, we've been so strong over here offensively, and Meyer has, you know, a package and things, so it's been really a lot on me to learn maybe some new language and some new theories. We're trying to enhance and make things better, but it's, you know, it's kind of me getting up to speed. And when you got so many great players, you've seen them, and they're striving so hard to play so well, it puts a lot on me to be at my best every day. And I've had to work very, very hard to bring the energy and to bring the focus and concentration. You talk about players focusing. I've got to bring great focus every day to do a great job here.
Coach, as you plug into this, obviously there's tremendous talent here. What else has really impressed you about this program that maybe you didn't know being an outsider?
Well, and you know, because you see them and yeah, you see that talent. I was probably as strong a group of kids, just being good kids that love to work hard. You walk in that building today and you're looking at a kid that's looking you right in the eyes. He's giving you his best, which forces you to give you best. That's the culture of Coach Meyer. That's the culture of Coach Marotti. But it's as talented a group of kids that maybe is the best group of men working hard, and it's a group of men. Those old cats, JT, you just sat up here, those guys, those are mature men, and it's exciting to work with those guys. And got some great young ones coming too, though.
You talk about the maturity of some of the players on the team, particularly on the offensive side, how do you gain the trust? How do you build the relationship when you're coming in like this? How do you spend time with them?
Coach has kind of freed it up at tight end where, for example, when we go 7-on-7, because Coach Myers down there, Coach Day, Coach Smith, I'll go with the offensive line. Gives me a chance with Coach Studrawa. We go blitz pickup. And inside, I'm there with Coach Alford and the guys. So I'm kind of have some flexibility to go around. I have to earn the right to be trustworthy, just because you might have done something. I mean, if a kid thinks you have his back and you're doing everything to make him better, and he thinks you're going to give him a chance to make him better, he'll believe in you. So again, kind of coaching them with a lot of experience, the way I've kind of always coached, and I think we're connecting with these guys. But like I say, it goes back to bringing it every day and earning these kids' trust.
How do you improve accuracy of a quarterback in practice on a day-to-day basis?
Well, it's, again, something that we chart daily. Like, for example, we talk about trying to throw the deep balls, but how many are catchable? A long foul ball doesn't, defensive back never got beat by a foul ball. And so, I mean, every day we're charting it. Coach Ryan Day is a phenomenal coach, and we talk about earning trust. He's got a great JT, a veteran, some really great young guys with Joe Burrow, Tate Martell, and Dwayne Haskins. That's a good group, and Ryan's doing an awesome job. So Coach Myers, a receiver guy. Those guys work a lot together, and we're going to work hard to get that passing game up to speed.
Kevin, this is a team that was in the college football playoff a year ago, and yet you were brought in part to help make it better. Is there pressure involved in that?
Personally, I think those years at Oklahoma, having been a head coach the last 6 years, to me the pressure is always to do the best to earn those kids' trust and to get the team better every day. So to me, when you're working with a great group of coaches, all I'm doing every day is doing everything I can to earn the coach's trust, Coach Myers' trust, and those players' trust. And there's not a lot of change. It's me embracing what we do and trying to find a way to make it better. I'm excited about that, and I'm growing every day. It's been a great experience so far.
I have to ask you about the opener against Indiana. We were just there yesterday. I know all of those kids, essentially, other than maybe a few, are kids that you recruited, you brought in. I know you feel a connection to them. What's that going to be like emotionally for you?
It'll be tough because those are your players. But at the same time, this is now my players here. And, didn't get a chance to maybe see those guys off with the transition. Then you come over here. And that's the one thing Coach knows, having coached. Sometimes the coaches leave, but I've had a bunch of players I've helped since I've left, but it's been the former guys. Hey, Coach, can you write a recommendation for me? Can you get me a job? Help some guys, with the pro scouts. But those guys that were still internal, now because you're at an opponent, to me, I lost up there because you want to keep those relationships, the way those kids work for you. So to me, that's a tough deal. But, as you get into preparation, to me, it's not personal. There's nothing about it. They've made their move in direction. We've made our move in direction, and we're just going to work hard as we can to make our team have the best day we can. To me, it's not about that game. To me, it's about preseason, this day, building. We'll get to that game, and then we'll keep moving forward after that one.
Buckeyes offensive coordinator Kevin Wilson. Coach, great to see you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys.
It's so easy to be average. You know it as well as I know it. And it takes a little something special to be a great player. Did you push yourself to be great today? Did you do it? If you didn't do it, you lost today. We ain't got many days to lose. We're going to push your ass like it's never been pushed. Because what you got in you, we're going to find out. Can Emma find out? And if there's a touch of greatness in there, how cool would that be? Let's go with John Simon. Break it down. Let's go.